a lot, and it is scorchingly hot. Then we have got another 2 there, lying flat, hiding behind one little piece of grass, but it works. They've got it. They might as well use it. And then we have got another 5 at the carcass. 2 feeding, 2 lying flat, and 1 waiting for food and keeps getting growled at, so it won't go any closer right in the middle. But there you have it, 10 lions, all heavily panting. Cindy D, Panda and I were just discussing this because he was asking, Jew McClan, where are you? And I was thinking, you know, they're probably sitting somewhere close by listening and waiting, but I don't think they've got the nerve to come down when there are still lions feeding and there's so many lions lying around that could back them up. It just doesn't make much sense to do so. They're going to get injured. But if they're patient, if they outlast the lions, once the lions need to go and grab some water, then the hyenas have a pretty good chance of pulling the rest of that giraffe carcass wherever they want it. Lots of bones to be had there, lots of food. Oh, you're going to pull it... Okay, never mind. I thought she was going to pull it completely this way and flatten that poor jackalberry tree. The giraffe carcass is literally wrapped around that little tree at the moment. You can see it's kind of draped over the stem of a little tree on the left. That's the jackalberry tree. And the skin is wrapped around. I'm playing a tug of war with it every now and then. Frank, if the oh yeah, you can hear the growling, I'm happy. Thank you, Jarrett. Jarrett's the voice of my ear today, everybody. Say hi to Jarrett, he's amazing. Frank, if the skin was left alone in the heat, yes, it would dry out and it actually would become quite hard. I don't know if you all remember when I was at Amakala, I showed you a giraffe carcass that had been there for years and the skin had never been touched. Most of the skeleton was still fairly intact and the skin was still draped over the rib cage, and when I knocked on the top it was like solid wood. I couldn't bend it, I couldn't move it, it held my weight. It's just unbelievable. So it becomes pretty hard. However, it's much more likely to happen there than here because of the makeup of predators that we have in this area, predators and scavengers. So down there you don't get spotted hyenas, you do get brown hyenas, but they're quite few and far between, but also they wouldn't eat a whole giraffe. They tend to be solitary, not in big clans like the spotted hyenas. And even the things like the lions, they're not going to eat the skin. So there, the skin actually has the opportunity to harden. Where here, there's 10 lions to feed. Granted, they left the skin behind, but if they were desperate, they'd eat it. But let me tell you, the hyenas will not let that go to waste. The hyenas will chew chunks off, they'll eat it, they'll pull it around, take it to den sites for cubs to play with. So I don't think it'll have the chance to harden out here. I don't think there'll be a thing wasted from this entire carcass. There were some vultures here earlier, but I think they might have disappeared to find some water or shade. But I think it's literally only a matter of time before a clan member shows itself. Probably a little bit later on in the day. Oof. There's a leg bone. Probably a bit later in the day, but definitely at some point it's going to happen. Richard, to be honest with you, I think we all thought because it's a giraffe calf and because of how many lions there are and the heat of the day that the lions would be done sometime this morning and that we wouldn't find them feeding this afternoon. But they surprised us, as they often do, I suppose. They surprised us beautifully. We'll still be feeding on the last little tidbits that they can get off of the legs and the neck. I can't even see a rib cage. Can you see a rib cage anywhere, Panda? It's gone. They've eaten the rib cage. That's impressive. I can see a rib on its own that's been scattered up to